For more on this important topic, Wang Tao joins us live from Beijing. He's from the Carnegie-Tsinghua Center for Global Policy and a resident scholar in the Energy and Climate Program. Good to see you, sir. Let me start with the importance of this conference. Look, actually, you know what? The conference is very important. We already know that. But in your view, what would make the conference successful?
Well, I think everyone has to be at least realize the difficulties of this outcome that we will be going to achieve. We have seen that high expectations alone are not going to generate the outcome as in Copenhagen. And I think the whole international community has made huge efforts to pull everyone together and to make that decision that we're going to try again in Paris this year. So we do have a lot of challenges in the negotiation. In the next 2 weeks, I think the heads of the state are going to find out what kind of commitment they are going to willing to commit and to compromise to each other and to find agreements that will be acceptable for all and to help us to tackle the climate change. So be realistic, be pragmatic, and also remain our ambition is the key for us to have a successful outcome.
Okay, so that's all very nice. China has been a leader in this this past year with its agreement with the U.S., and it's said on the record many times that it would like an agreement, obviously, in Paris. A lot of people are expecting China to sort of lead the way on this. What does China want?
I think China wants to be playing a more constructive role in this negotiation. As a rising power, I think China has already made this absolutely clear that China wants to have an international agreement on climate change. And the announcement that we made recently together with the United States, with France, and with the European Union also made this very clear. So China is definitely going to play a constructive role. But at the same time, I think we also have to understand that this is a multilateral process, and China alone would not be able to shoulder the responsibility. And China also needs to play a very key role to bridging the ideas between the developed countries and developing countries to help them to make agreement. And I think that is also very important.
Okay, so that's a nice way of saying that we have some money issues here, because my understanding is that one of the sticking points is who's going to pay for all this. And the developing countries say, hey, wait a minute, we're developing, we don't want to pay for it. The developed countries are still arguing who's going to pay, and sort of China's caught in the middle, right? What is the happy balance, if you will?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think what we have seen recently in the latest joint statement between China and the United States also see the reflection of that consideration, because China, as the world's second largest economy, people expect that China will play a bigger role and also to commit some of the financial contributions to the developing countries to help them adapt to climate change. But at the same time, it's a principle that in the UNFCCC that the developed countries who are the causing, who actually emitted most of the emissions to the climate change, has to pay more of the finance support to the developing countries. So there has to be a way, as China just recently did. They actually committed the $30 billion US to the South-South Cooperation Fund instead of in the Green Climate Fund. People will have to find more innovative and flexible schemes to pay for this money, but the amount is absolutely large. It's $100 billion US every year, and we would have to see majority of them coming from the developed countries, from the public finance, and also to help to use the leverage to get more money supporting the developing countries coping with this huge challenge.
Secretary Kerry in the United States has said that whatever agreement is done would not be legally binding. And to me, that seems to just open up the United States for some criticism. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think you have to view this from slightly different aspects, because of course, we heard in the Durban meeting, which was about 4 years ago, which mandates the Paris conference, that we said international community agreed that we will have either a protocol or a legal instrument or outcome with legal forces. I think this statement by Secretary Kerry actually reflects the difficulties or dilemma, if you like, in the United States politics. Because if it's a treaty, international treaty, then it gives the motive, especially for the Congress, to be able to control more about the negotiation. So there is a difference that has been reflected in his statement between what U.S. wanted and also what the European Union wanted, because France as a host said this is definitely has to be a legal protocol and with a legal agreement. I think many of the international communities agree this has to be an outcome with legal force, but we also have to understand that there are flexibilities in this agreement has to be made. But I think more or less this is more like a tactic instead of the strategic decisions by Secretary Kerry to say this is not going to be a legal outcome, because we will still have an outcome that is to some extent legally bound to each of the country to ensure that their commitment will be fulfilled. For example, if you look at the case in China, we already agreed to peak the carbon emissions by 2030 and also raise the non-fossil fuel share in the primary energy consumptions to 20% by 2030. This, at the moment, is not legally bound either, but this has been placed at the highest priorities in Chinese domestic policy.
All right.
So you will probably say almost the same kind of outcome, but we think we need to have something in the international level to guarantee this is to be met.
I feel like we need some lawyers for this. Wang Tao, thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend over there. Maybe France's good hospitality can get us to an agreement. Thank you.